Hey everybody, it's Newer Kid Y here with God Yay or Nay. Thanks for tuning in. I decided to make this my first podcast. I took a vacation recently to Mexico. I did a 6 ceremony ayahuasca retreat. If you don't know what ayahuasca is, this is the right podcast for you because I'm going to fill you in and I'm going to show you each one of my 6 ceremonies, which ended up being like a completely different experience on each one. It was absolutely amazing. The reason I want to make this my first podcast is because my podcast, God Yay or Nay, I want to make it about growth, self-development, and consciousness. And all three of these themes just fits so perfectly with ayahuasca and what it is. Now, let me give you an idea of what ayahuasca is if you haven't really, or if you're not very familiar with it. Ayahuasca is made from 2 plants in the Amazon rainforest. They come together and they produce a little tea that we drink, and it's a plant medicine / very potent psychedelic. It is a psychedelic, let me tell you that much. People have been doing this for thousands of years, so it's a completely safe thing to ingest, so you don't have to worry about that. The psychedelic component, though, that can sometimes be a little scary for people, but trust me, this thing is so amazing. It's so good for healing. The psychedelic chemical is called DMT. This is what's actually making you have different visions or different experiences that are labeled psychedelic. DMT is actually released in your own mind. This is a chemical that's inside you already. It's released in your own mind when you're dreaming or when you have a near-death experience. They say DMT floods the brain. So DMT is completely safe. It's in every single plant in the world almost. So you're ingesting DMT all the time. Just the combination in ayahuasca has some sort of chemical reaction that allows the DMT to actually be used in a psychedelic way in your mind. But let me tell you what ayahuasca really is. Like, one thing I love now is that ayahuasca is starting to become a little bit mainstream. You hear it in the whole cultural zeitgeist now. What ayahuasca is, it is a plant medicine. It heals us. You can see it heals people of like different trauma, PTSD, addiction. Ayahuasca has such a good reputation with all of these. I've heard so many stories now of different people who've done it and got off of hard drugs and like got their life on order and got rid of PTSD of like stuff that's just been bothering them, like sexual abuse or like actual like going into war zones and stuff like that, like stuff that actually like gets into your body and it just sticks there as a fear. And ayahuasca actually helps heal that. It's a very healing, amazing drug. It also it opens you up. It's a teacher as well. Like the plant medicine is a teacher. When you start using ayahuasca a few times, you'll actually start seeing like, oh my God, like this substance, this plant is actually trying to teach me something. It's insane. And like the one thing I've noticed just from my experiences and from all the different people I've talked to who've done it. Some of the things that it teaches us that have commonality is it's always telling us to be present. It's a very like be present, pay attention to your life, pay attention to life as itself, how it's unwinding. Put your attention to the details of the things that you're doing in life, your relationships. Always be attentive in those and open up in them. These are the common themes I see all the time when I hear people talk about their ayahuasca stories, and especially relationships. You'll notice if you do ayahuasca enough, it'll take you on like a journey and show you everything you want to know about every kind of relationship in your life. Some of the most loving, family, friends, acquaintances, enemies, every type of relationship, it will show you it, and it'll actually show you different dynamics of it and let you see it in a different way, and allow you to open up more in those relationships because it wants you to be more open, more present, and live your life more fully. This is what this plant medicine does. It's absolutely insane. And when you do it, the more you do it and the more of a relationship you have with it, it's amazing. It opens you up to some sort of intelligence that's so much bigger than us. It really makes you feel that. And this is coming from a guy who's always been a skeptical dude. I've always been skeptical. But now I've done ayahuasca 13 times. I did it 7 before this trip, and then I did it 6 more times. By the time I did ayahuasca on my 4th or 5th time, I was just completely convinced, like, okay, this has access to some sort of intelligence that's just so much greater than us. Like, I just can't believe it. It blows my mind, and that's why I want to share this experience I've had on the 6th ceremony retreat, and let you guys. I hope to inspire you, and hopefully maybe you guys can try it yourself, or at least be a little bit more open to when other people are trying it. A couple other things about ayahuasca, just so you understand what it is. It also cleans your body out. So this is why a lot of people will say this is not a fun psychedelic. This isn't mushrooms or acid, which if you ever done those things, you know those can be like a lot of fun. It can be something you do and go on a hike or something. This is not what ayahuasca is. Like, ayahuasca will clean out your body, and like that's why some people do things which we call purging. You might actually vomit. You might actually have diarrhea. And then there's like a few other ways of purging, like shivering, fever, shaking, just like a lot of crying, laughter, like different ways of releasing energy and cleaning out your body. But vomiting tends to be the one that most people will end up doing at least the first few times they do ayahuasca. For me, the first few times I always vomited, and then I just kind of stopped vomiting, thinking that maybe I kind of cleaned out a lot of stuff so I didn't need to vomit anymore. But you'll notice when you do like vomit, you'll feel like a release of like energy, some like negative stuff that's holding you back, and you vomit it out, and I don't even know what to say. It's just crazy. It's amazing, and I love it. So this retreat I went on, it was in Mexico. Baclalar is the place it was at, a nice little lake. There were 17 of us. We ended up going on this retreat. It was 6 ceremonies over 12 days pretty much, or 11 days I think it was. We had a great time. Pretty much every ceremony we go and do it in a thing we called, what would we call it? It was basically like a big giant teepee kind of thing. I can't even remember what the word was for what we called it, but we do it in the dark. When it gets down to the dark, we light some candles just so we can take the drink, and everybody around takes the drink, and then we go and lay back. And we had some people from the Amazon who were there, who are very experienced in the medicine. They were singing songs. That kind of helps keep us aligned during our trips, because sometimes it can get a little wonky, and those songs are just very beautiful, and they help you stay leveled during the trip. It's very, very, very nice to have people singing. So we did this, 17 people. All of us came in. We all had different issues we kind of wanted to work on. And one thing that I think is really good, if you're going in to do some sort of ayahuasca retreat like this, or even if you're just going to try ayahuasca once or twice, you want to have kind of an intention while you're going into it. That intention doesn't have to be so specific. It can be a little bit broad. When I first started going and doing ayahuasca, my intention was just kind of like, hey, give me what I need, or show me what I need, like those kind of intentions. So like that's such a broad intention, which it almost is just like, hey, medicine, like what do I need, give it to me kind of thing. But this time I had a lot more of a narrow intention. So this is my intention going into this 6 ceremonies, what I wanted to really work on. I wanted to work on confidence. All right. I wanted to believe in myself, because I've noticed in the last year, or in the last few months, especially, I'm a comedian. If you don't know that, a lot of people who are listening probably know I'm a stand-up comedian. I've been doing it for years. I love it. And, I'm really good. I'm getting, better and better all the time. And one thing I've been noticing lately is there is a part of me that just doesn't believe in myself. And even if I go on stage and I'm killing it and I'm having a great show, like even sometimes I come off and people who know me can be like, man, you're awesome. But like there's just something about you. you don't quite believe in yourself. That confidence isn't there. And I've noticed it in myself. Like sometimes I just have so much doubt, so much fears. It's something that's just not good for the kind of life I'm trying to live here. I want to be a comedian. I want to be able to support myself doing this, and I have to believe in myself. And so this was something that I've just been noticing in the last few months, is like I don't have that pure belief in myself, that confidence that's unshakable, and that's what I want. And so this was a big thing about going into this ceremonies. That was my main intention. The secondary intention that I did have is in the last year, I've had a lot of pain in my back and my shoulders, especially my left shoulder. My left shoulder has always been rolling up on me, and I always want to keep my shoulders back, stand straight. But it's just like my shoulder just like was in so much pain, it would always roll forward just because even just putting it up straight was just such a hassle, and it just hurt my back so much. So I had a bad shoulder. On top of that, I had this chest pain that was probably in the same vein as my shoulder. And that chest pain, the one thing about it, there was like a tightness in the chest and a pain that even like sometimes if I would like smoke a joint or something, all of a sudden that pain would just be coming up, and like a part of me kind of thinks like, oh, this is where my heart is. So like a part of me was always getting like paranoid, like, oh my God, is something wrong with my heart? And like I'm only in my 30s, like what's going on? And it was a very, very scary thing to have happen. So this chest pain was one thing that I was pretty sure it had something to do with my muscles, but like a part of me was also like scared it had something to do with my heart. I had this shoulder pain, and then in my hips were just constantly tight all the time. Same with my lower back. So like I just had all this pain that was just making me always uncomfortable, always fidgety, and like always can't even sit still, and trying to stretch out all my back and my hips all the time. And it was very annoying. So that was my secondary intention. So my intentions were, just to repeat, build confidence, believe in myself, and then number 2, get rid of my pain. Shoulder, chest, lower back, hips. And this was my intentions going in to my 6th ceremony ayahuasca retreat. All right, so let's start this. Guys, we'll start with my first ceremony. And the one thing you're going to love about this, all these ceremonies, is every single ceremony was different. Every single ceremony, I took the exact same dosage of ayahuasca, and every single ceremony was different. So this first one, I got in there. I'm nervous. I'm not going to lie. I'm really, really nervous. And a big part of it was because of that chest pain. Like in the back of my head, even though I'm trying to tell myself that's stupid, the belief, like it's just a muscle pain. It has nothing to do with your heart. In the back of my head, I'm just kind of thinking like, oh my God, like if this is my heart and I go into an ayahuasca trip, like what happens if it just starts beating? And what happens if it can't handle it? I get a heart attack and I die. You know, all that stupid thoughts are just in my head. And yeah, when you're going in to do a very potent psychedelic, those thoughts aren't very nice. I'll tell you that much. But this is how I started the trip. So I take the ayahuasca, shoot it down, and I go back to my mat and just kind of lay down and I just wait for it to kick in. Now, it always usually takes about 45 minutes to an hour for me. This one kicked in after 15 minutes. So what happened first that I started kicking in, it started at my navel and my stomach. All of a sudden, like the muscles in there just started loosening up, and then like a muscle in there just started twitching. So now my stomach just starts twitching, which is just the weirdest, like, I don't know, it was just weird as heck. Like the muscles just twitching, and it was twitching like really hard for about like 20 minutes, just twitching. And then my hips, they start shaking. And like I said, I have very, very tight hips, but this was really hilarious because they just start shaking, and it was just doing it by itself. But you can actually kind of feel like a lot of the tension and energy was just getting released in my hips. So it was kind of nice. I was like, okay, like the navel's twitching, which I don't really like that. But the hips are kind of shaking out all that tension. That I really do like. And then all of a sudden I did feel my chest tightness came up, and like a part of my fear was coming up, and I was like, no fucking way, this is going to be my heart right off the bat. And like, so that fear just came up, but right away, like, the medicine just showed me, like, it just put that belief in me. It just put it in, like, you're fine. Like, this is not your heart, this is your muscles, you're fine. You have a strong heart. And it put this belief in me of like, I'm healthy, I have a strong heart. And it just put it in me, and it just kept repeating it to me. And it just said, it was teaching me, this is what it was teaching me. It was teaching me that you want to have a conviction that you are healthy. Repeat it to yourself that I'm healthy, I have a good heart, I have a strong heart. And like, repeat it to yourself. It was showing me, like, when you have those fears about your health and you constantly put your head on thinking about it, you end up like deteriorating your health slowly just by thinking about it, and then putting your body into those stressful situations. Because like, whenever you start worrying, your body starts stressing. So it was showing me this shit, and it's showing me it's the exact, when you have a conviction that you're healthy, you put your body into a healthy mindset, and your body, your biochemistry in your body is healthy too. So it just it put this conviction in me that I'm healthy, I have a good heart. And like, all these thoughts were just getting repeated to myself constantly, and I felt amazing. It really did. Like that, like all of a sudden, that whole fear of my heart, everything just left, and it was gone. And I was just like, oh my God, like, I'm ready to take on this 6 ceremonies. I'm ready to do it. Like, all that nervousness was gone. So now, like, my actual trip ended up starting. So like, besides, like I said, my hips, they were shaking all night. My stomach, the twitching ended up going away after about 15-20 minutes, and then the hips were just shaking all night, and I could just feel it loosening up my hips and the tension going away. But like, then the medicine, it started teaching me, and this whole trip ended up being about masculinity. So the medicine was trying to talk or teach me about masculinity, and how parts of masculinity I'm not allowing into my life. Yeah, like, I'll tell you, like, I am, like, when it comes to masculinity and femininity, like, I have a lot of my feminine side pretty damn good. Like, I have a good feminine side. I'm a very kind, nurturing person, and I'm very open in that kind of sense. And it was showing me how my masculine side, I don't have that balance there, and I have to get parts of the masculine side, like, up. And like, hey, we're talking about confidence and believing in myself. That's my intention. So this is like right up there with it. So like, when it came to the masculine side, it was really putting this confidence in me of like, me saying like, hey, I'm a man, I can be that man, even though like, I can be that man who gets what he wants, I can be that confident, unapologetic man, but I'm honest and unwavering. I go after what I want. This is the kind of man I want to be. And it was showing me like how I sometimes have like a negative view of masculinity, because I see people who are overly aggressive or just douchebags, and I get repulsed by that. But they were showing me like, hey, there's actual good like good sides to masculinity, and you want to take those good sides, and you don't need to be those aggressive douchebags. You can do the masculine part of it without that. Like, I can be confident, I can be unapologetic, unwavering, going after what I want and taking it without being a douchebag. And it was showing me how like, you're supposed to be as like a man who stands tall and stands firm, and be unwavering. This was what it was showing me as a masculinity, and was putting it into me. And then it started showing me this made me laugh. It started showing me visions of like Texas and stuff, and it was like, it was showing me visions of myself in those like just big muscles on myself, and sunglasses, like ones you would see like some like Texas dude wearing, and it was showing me like Texas Kid Y, like that's my name. So I don't know, I thought that was hilarious, but it was just like, because I know, like, when it comes to like Texas, I'm not shitting on Texas, sorry, but like those kind of like Texas guys who are like just everything about being aggression and like bodybuilders and stuff like that. That kind of whole attitude, like, I've always found that silly, and I just never liked it, and I was always turned off by it. But it was showing me like parts of that attitude is something you want, like bring it into yourself. So it was showing me like myself, and with like just filled with muscles with the sunglasses on, and it was like Texas Kid Y, Texas Newer, and I was just, I don't know, I was laughing my ass off at this whole idea of it. But I liked it too, because it was filling me with this like masculine energy of standing firm and being that unapologetic person. Like that was like the attributes of that Texas man who says like, "Hey, this is who I am, and I don't give a shit what you think." Like that's what it was putting into me, and that's like, though that part of masculinity is beautiful, and this is what I'm going to work hard in now to actually put into my own life and into my own character, because that was a beautiful teaching that ayahuasca was giving me. Like, hey, this part of masculinity you can use. You need it. You don't need to be the aggressive guy, but this is what you want. And I needed that. It actually even started showing me actual comedians in real life. One of them being, if you ever watched that show, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Dennis Reynolds. Like, it showed me Dennis Reynolds, who's my favorite character on that show. But it showed me like how he's like the kind of like tries to play the alpha male kind of character on that show, and he has this cocky arrogance to him, and it was showing me like this kind of cocky arrogance, like it's one of the reasons people love him so much and they find him so funny. And he's so unapologetic, and he has this cockiness and arrogance to him that just helps his comedy so much. And it was kind of showing me like these kind of things. It was showing me a few other comics, or just people in my regular life. But they're showing me these kind of things, this kind of confidence. People love it, and this is the reason they get people love to follow these sort of comedians, is because they can actually look at that confidence and cockiness, and it makes them laugh, and it's stuff that they wish they kind of had. And like I saw it, like, so when I was looking at this, I was actually like learning, like, okay, like these are kind of attributes that I can actually learn to put into my comedy act, to have a little bit of arrogance and cockiness in there, because that just makes people like you more, and it makes people actually more like responsive to your material as well. Which sometimes I've noticed, like, I have great material, but sometimes I don't say it with that assuredness, and it takes away from like the delivery of that material. So yeah, this was my first ceremony. Was all about it was all about this masculinity, pretty much. It was shaking out my hips, which was nice. My hips felt a lot better the next day, even though they were still tight the next day. But that right there, for the most part, was ceremony 1. Let me see. Do I have anything else on here to put in there? No, that was basically ceremony 1 right there, and taught me a lot about masculinity. And I've been back in Toronto for about a week now, and I've been going to the clubs, and I can definitely see a change in my confidence on stage, and this cockiness, arrogance thing, I don't quite have that down. This is something I'm going to have to search for a little bit more, but my confidence is already through the roof compared to when I first before I went to this ayahuasca retreat. So I've already seen this change already kind of happen and take place. So that's one good thing I'm really happy about right now. Okay, so ceremony 2. So we took a day off after the first ceremony, and then the second ceremony we went after the day off. So it was 2 days after. Coming into this one, I was like, all right, the first one was good. Let's check this one out. So took the same dosage, like I said. And this one hit me fast again. It was within 15 minutes. And within 15 minutes, I'm just sitting there waiting for it to kick in. And all of a sudden, I hear this, just this high frequency pitch just engulfed my whole head. It started in my ears, and then it just engulfed every part of me. That I like. It was so intense. Like I was sitting up, I had to just like lay down on my mat, and I was just like, yeah, this high pitch just kind of was just like until it just engulfed every part of my being and just took me completely out of my body. And I was just seeing visions, and I was just in another, I don't even know how to say it. Like, I want to say like I'm in another dimension. I don't even know what the hell that means really, but like I'm in some place I'm just completely unfamiliar with. It was very, very weird. And like the first hour I didn't even know where I was. Like I couldn't really pinpoint any aspect of where my body was or anything about where any part of me was. The only thing and this is what I try to tell people if they ever do an ayahuasca for the first time, is try to do some breathing exercises where you just bring your attention to your breath. Because when you get into spots like these in ayahuasca, which doesn't happen every ceremony, but they will happen once in a while, you always have your breath. You can always return your attention to your breath, and that will always ground you and make you feel fine. Because like at this point, I'm in another fucking place, and like I said, I just have all these visions and like presence like that I've never felt before, and like the visions were just so out there that I can't even like put words to what they were, and they had like a weight to them, like it almost felt like if I did ever feel my body, it felt like I was getting pressed down by these visions. But then even that like whole feeling of my body went away, and then I'm just like lost in some sort of like actual vision. It was very crazy. This was just how I entered the trip. It lasted about an hour, and then I kind of came back down to a level where I was much more comfortable at, and I could actually work with the medicine a little bit. And once I came down to this level, I don't know, when I was in a good spot where I was actually like talking to the medicine. So when you actually get to a point where you've done ayahuasca enough that you're comfortable with it, maybe even this is on your first time. Some people do it on their first time. If they do it and they're very comfortable with it, you can actually talk to the medicine. You can actually just ask it a question and it'll bring you an answer. It's absolutely insane. So I was there. I was in this spot, so I came out of these visions, and like all of a sudden I'm like, okay, I know where I am. I'm feeling good. I'm on the medicine. Like I'm right in the middle of a trip. Like let's ask ayahuasca a question. So first thing I asked, I'm like, what should I write next? I was thinking about comedy. I'm like, what should I write about next? And right away it gave me an answer, and it gave me a bit that I was working on like 3-4 months ago that I was writing about, and then I kind of tossed it to the side because I was like, all right, this isn't ready, or I wasn't really liking it at the time, and I kind of tossed it away. And yeah, it gave me that bit like right there, and I was like, this is what you need to be working on. And I was just like, oh shit, like that was kind of nice of you to give me that. But though medicine like kept communicating with me about how I approach my writing. And it was pretty much telling me about how to keep energy flowing in your writing, because that's how in any kind of creative work or any kind of just work in life, is like you want to keep energy flowing. It was showing me how if you keep energy flowing and constantly in movement, like when you're writing, just keep writing, and once you get a block, go do something else. Then if you're in a writer's block and you can't write, go do something else. Go write something else, or even just go do something else and keep energy flowing. Because it was showing like if energy's flowing, it always gets across any block or barrier. That shit's easy. Energy and your consciousness and how it works will always surpass any of those barriers or blocks. It's as if you keep it flowing. It was showing me though in my life when I have these troubles with writer's block, or any kind of block in like maybe relationships, any kind of thing in your life where you have a block and you just stop. How many of us do that? We just stop. And then it's so easy to stop in our culture. We got freaking Netflix we can go binge watch. We got our phones we can just go occupy our time. So this is what I do. I would like stop and just like kind of wait and be like, all right, I'll wait until I get some more creative energy flow my way, and like I feel like writing, and I'll stop. And it's like, no, that when you do that, you kill your energy, you move to a lower energy level, which creativity or true creativity doesn't exist in, and you just killed your momentum. But if you keep your energy flowing, sometimes that means to just write about other shit when you can't write, or maybe go to the gym, or maybe do something that's actually keeping your energy and your attention flowing, and actually making sure that you're present. This will end up always leading you to where you need to go, and you'll always get that creative energy boost. And so it was showing me this, and it just ended up filling me up with so much confidence. Like this trip was just so amazing. It just started showing me, started like giving me confidence, and just like showing me like, you're just a great comedian. And it just kept saying that to me, like, you're so fucking good at comedy. You're going to kill it. You're going to kill it. And it was just giving me this belief in myself. And it's this conviction. And like I said from the first ceremony, remember I was talking about having a belief in yourself about your health, about having like a healthy heart, or just being a healthy person. And I was going, I'm fucking healthy. That belief will create it, because if you're constantly thinking that way, your mind will be constantly focused that way, that it'll just create that reality. And it was showing me the same thing with your comedy. If you create that conviction of, I'm a fucking great comedian, and I'm going to kill it, and I'm going to be awesome, and I'm going to get my opportunities. If I create that conviction in myself, it'll create that reality, and it'll like screw all those doubts. Like if I have enough of that conviction, those doubts, those fears, they won't be able to enter my consciousness. And when I see them enter, I can get rid of them. Because I have enough conscious attention now that I can stick with my conviction of like, I'm an amazing comedian, and that makes it that I'm going to get what I want, and I'm going to create that reality. So I was really putting that conviction in myself, and it was amazing. On top of that, my hips and my legs, they were vibrating all night. Like when I say like vibrating, I'm talking about a much higher frequency than the night before, the ceremony before, where they were shaking. Like the first ceremony, they were shaking, like just kind of going up and down, shaking. And this ceremony, it was vibrating. Like it was at such a high frequency, like I can't even like mimic it. And you can just feel tension in my hips and lower back just leave my body. The next day, my hips and lower back were so loose, and they felt amazing. I couldn't believe how cool it actually it was. You know, and like I said, the maestros, these are the guys who are the very experienced with the medicine. So they're singing during the whole ceremony. And sometimes, like, so what they say, if you go down to the Amazon, and what the maestros say is like, they're singing because they can see your energies, and they can see like what's ailing you or what you need, and they'll actually sing a song that kind of changes the frequency of your body, and like it heals you pretty much. I don't like. I know I'm a skeptical guy, so like I don't even know what that means really, but just from being in that room when they were singing to me, I felt my energy changing. Like they came around, and the one guy came in front of me and started singing towards me, and I could tell he's singing at me, and all of a sudden I felt my energy in my body just completely change, and I felt it like go from like my whole body all the way up to my head, and it was I don't know what was happening in my head, but all of a sudden I felt a switch. And like when that switch happened in my head, I literally popped up off my mat, and I was just like, I want to share. I want to share. Like I just started saying that, like, I want to share. And it just put this like, put this mindset in me of like, I want to share everything. And like, cause I know I've had a fear sometimes, like even like I've been doing this podcast, I've been thinking of it for a long time. I have so much comedy stuff that I just don't put out there. And I'm scared. I got like, I have these fears of like, what if, or I'm a perfectionist. Like, is this not right? Is this not perfect? Like everything has to be perfect. But no, this is, I just want to share. And like, that when the maestro was singing to me, and I felt my energy popping up to my head, and then it just flipped, and I just jumped up, and I'm like, I want to share. I want to give this shit out to people. I want people to hear what I have to say. And I was so confident. I felt so good about myself. Like, I just couldn't believe it. It was like absolutely amazing. And like, this has stayed with me since I've done this. And with ayahuasca, like, I'm back a week already, and I'm already sharing more. I'm already doing these podcasts. I'm getting my website done. I'm like, it stayed with me. I couldn't fucking believe it. It was absolutely amazing. So that was ceremony 2. So let's move on. All right, ceremony number 3. Okay, so this one was a lot more gentle. Ceremony number 2, I think you remember how I started off with just an insane out-of-world experience that I wasn't, it was very unsettling. I wasn't very happy with that. This one started off extremely gentle. So it took a little bit longer than the 15 minutes that it was usually taking. And once I got into the trip, I started seeing like some visions, right? They're very slight visions, and they're like landscapes almost, like just very plain landscapes, and they were just kind of entering into my field of vision, and just and I'm just kind of sitting there observing these visions and just kind of like going, okay. And I just kind of let them go. And honestly, for about half an hour to 45 minutes, I'm just sitting there and watching these visions just kind of come in and come and go. And they're just like I said, they're just like very plain landscape visions. And it was like nothing. Like, it was just like whatever. And this is the first time I've ever said this on ayahuasca, but like, I was sitting there and I was just like straight up bored. I was bored. I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, maybe I should take more medicine. Like, this is just like boring as hell, you know? And then all of a sudden I'm just sitting there, and this boredom just started growing in me. Actually, I felt it like just growing. Like, I was just getting so much much more bored and restless, and it just kept growing and growing. And then all of a sudden it hit me, and I'm just like, holy shit, this is the medicine showing me something right now. And like, all of a sudden it was showing me about my boredom, and just in life, and like how much of my life, like how I am when I'm bored, and how shitty of an energy boredom is, how low and pathetic of an energy boredom is, and how I spend my time. Like, when I'm bored, how I would just like go on my phone and waste so much time. And it was just showing me how much time I waste when I'm bored, and like basically just repeating the cycle of boredom constantly, just because I just demand something to be good enough to take my attention, you know? Like, I demand like something on my phone or something on the television or something. I'm like, oh, give me something that's going to take my attention. Otherwise, I'm just going to be bored and sitting there going, oh, what's going to take away my boredom? And it was showing me how pathetic boredom is, and how low of an energy, and how unuseful it is as an energy. And so I was just like, okay. So like, really opened my eyes to boredom, and like making me go like, okay, I do spend a lot of my time in that bored state expecting to be entertained, which is not good at all. So I kind of was like, okay, so what do I need? And then it showed me curiosity. And like, this is what it showed me. It showed me curiosity, and it like put curiosity in me. I don't know, like, sometimes you'll hear people say when they're on ayahuasca, they sometimes feel like there's something working on them. Like, I've heard people say like, oh, it feels like aliens are working on my mind and my body and stuff. Like, I don't think they're aliens or anything, but like, you will feel like stuff working on your body and on your mind. Like, you'll feel like, it seems like you can actually feel things like taking connections that in your mind that are useless and getting rid of them and making new connections. Like, you can feel it in your mind. And when like this curiosity thing happened, and I felt curiosity, it put it inside me, and it started showing me curiosity. I felt it in my mind, and it started showing me what curiosity is, and how it's always asking questions, always searching, how it's never satisfied. It's always unveiling, digging up. Like, if you have curiosity, you'll never be bored. That's what it was showing me. Boredom doesn't exist when you're in that curiosity state. It was showing me how curiosity is such a higher energy level than boredom. And that's true. When you're curious, you're probably even sitting different. When you're, think about it, if you're bored, you're usually slouching and you're just like, you're just in that, like, how low of an energy level. And then when you're curious, your spine is erect, you're up, you're searching, you're trying to find, you're digging. This is what curiosity is. And this is what it was showing me. And it was showing me, like, all night, it started to show me how to add curiosity to my life. How, like, it was showing me in this podcast how to constantly be curious, constantly be asking questions. This is what's going to make my podcast great. And it was showing me in my comedy, it was like, if I'm curious about so much shit in my writing is just going to have so much more depth to it, because I'm going to constantly be searching out the extra things about what I'm writing about. I'm going to search out, what like, if I'm writing about a topic, I'll search out every part of that topic, and my comedy is going to have so much more depth because of that. So, like, it put curiosity in my head and fucking implanted it in there. It was like, it was amazing. And, like, I really felt that that curiosity in me. And like I said, it feels like something's working on your head and actually, like, making new connections. So, like, that was such a beautiful gift to receive from ayahuasca. So then near the end of my ceremony, on this third ceremony, started working on my shoulder, baby. Like I said, my shoulder was fucking killing me for the last year. And all of a sudden, like, it started working on my shoulder. And, like, this is how I was working on it. It would shake my shoulder back and forth. It just felt it, like it was just shaking back and forth. It didn't hurt or anything, and it just, like, I just felt it. It was just shaking it, and I was getting it into a rhythm. And you could feel like there was, like, a certain frequency of this shaking of how fast it should be shaking my shoulder. And I'm, like, saying, I'm not doing anything. I'm just sitting back and letting the medicine do what it's doing. Like, when it started working on my shoulder, I was just happy. I'm like, okay, like, if ayahuasca fixes my shoulder, I'm going to be like, this is, like, the most amazing thing ever. So it started shaking my shoulder, getting it to a frequency that you can tell it was just measuring it, waiting until it was at that frequency. And once it got there, it started pulling it. So it would shake my shoulder, get it to a frequency, and pull. And then shake and pull. And it just kept doing that all night. And you can feel that every time it was pulling, it was, like, switching the position of my shoulder. And every once in a while, it would pull it, like, in different directions and twist it. And, like, sometimes I felt like it almost dislocated my shoulder. Like, this is how much twisting and pulling it was doing. But, like, there was actually, like, no pain at all. Like, it was just because of how it was shaking my shoulder, which my shoulders never shake like that. It was just taking so much tension off of different muscles and stuff, and then it would pull and just, like, put it in, like, a different place. And I couldn't believe it. I honestly, like, it was amazing to feel. So I woke up in the morning. That was my ceremony number 3. My shoulder pain was still there, though. So, like, it didn't fix anything, but it was a little bit better, and, like, it was working on it and shaking it out all night. So I'm like, hey, I got 3 more ceremonies. If this thing fixes my shoulder pain, there'll be something else, let me tell you. But that was ceremony number 3. All right, ceremony number 4. All right, we're moving along, guys. So now I'm feeling good. Like, I've already done half of them, and let me give you guys an idea. Like, ayahuasca, like, it's an uncomfortable drug. No one's gonna, like, parts of it you're gonna feel bliss, love, gratefulness, some of the most beautiful things you've ever felt in your life. Everybody who comes out of ayahuasca, or at least almost everybody, comes out and they're just like, this is the best experience I've ever had. But it's hard. This isn't an easy experience, and it's uncomfortable. Like, this isn't mushrooms or acid. It's its own beast, and it can be very uncomfortable. So, like, doing 6 ceremonies in 11 days, like I was doing, it's like it's nerve wracking. Like a part of my head is kind of going like the whole time, like, am I gonna fucking do all 6 of these? But another part of me is like, hey, like I came here. I want to believe in myself. I want that confidence. I want that courage and stuff. And like another part of building that courage is actually going and taking those 6 drinks. Like I don't recommend doing 6 ceremonies if you're a first timer. This is something for somebody who wants to dive in deeper into the medicine like I did, and who wants to dive in deeper into my own psyche. Like if you do it your first time, do it twice, and that's a good number. And I really recommend doing it that second time, not just once. Do it 2 times so you can dive in twice and check it out. But like I said, now I'm past the halfway point. I'm on my 4th ceremony. But the nerves are kind of dying down a bit. I'm kind of like, okay, I made it halfway. I'm going to make it the other half. Like, let's do this. So this was my 4th ceremony. I take the drink. I go and sit down, and within 15 minutes, it's kicking in, and right away, bang, starts working on my shoulder again. And like 15 minutes in, all of a sudden, my shoulder starts shaking, and it starts yanking, shaking and yanking, shaking and yanking, and just doing it. But this time, like, not only was it working on my whole shoulder, it was working on my whole back. And now it was like, it's time to fix everything. And I've never, ever felt this kind of sensations before, because it was rotating my whole back, and it was doing all of this on its own. It would press a certain pressure point in my spine. I could feel it press like different parts of my spine, and my whole body and neck would move and rotate. And I would have zero control over it. When it would press a part of my spine, all of a sudden my neck would just fling to one side and my body would rotate that way. And I would be completely frozen in some position just because it's pressing a part of my spine and I can't move. And then it would press another part of my spine, and my neck would swing to the other side, like my head would swing to the other side, and my body would rotate it, and I would just be stuck into another position just because it's pressing like a part of my spine where nothing can move when it's pressing. And it was just moving my body and rotating it and like taking out different, like it was just putting in position like all my back and muscles and shoulder and shit, like everything, like repositioning in it. And it was a very, like, this was uncomfortable, don't get like me wrong. The ceremony before, where it was working on my shoulder only, I didn't have any kind of like discomfort in there. It kind of felt kind of cool, and it was fun to watch. Like this one was like a little much, just because like it was pressing my back and then putting me in a position where I couldn't move. Like I was almost like, it just felt like I was paralyzed for a second there, just because it had like it was holding me down. Like, I don't know if you ever had somebody pressure point on you and then all of a sudden you can't move. Like, this is what it was. And like, but it would then press another one and it would just move me, and I could just feel it was just rearranging my whole body. So I was trusting the medicine. So I was never scared. Like I said, it was uncomfortable, but I had no fear. I was just like, hey, I know this medicine's like doing what's good for me right now. And I couldn't believe it. And all of a sudden, then the chest pain popped up again. And it was like, I could see that it was like when it was rotating, it was like taking the tension off my chest pain, and it was like slowly releasing it. And a couple of times that chest pain popped up, and it was so sharp, like when you're releasing it, like it brings that pain up for like one more time for you to feel, and like that hurt. I'm not gonna lie, it really I like when it was releasing this chest pain, it really was a sharp pain, but it did release it. Now, this part blew my mind. Honestly, this next part blew my mind. When it was releasing this pain, it was showing me where this pain came from and what it showed me. And this happened like a year before when I moved to Toronto. So I've been living in Toronto for 2 years. And after the first year in Toronto, I remember like looking around at a lot of the comedians and going like, okay, like in Toronto, a lot of the comedians are just so good at a thing called crowd work. Now, if you don't know what crowd work is, it means when you go up on stage and you don't go into any of your own material, any of your own jokes that you've written, you just go off the top of your head, improvise, and just start talking to people and just be funny on yourself. Just make people laugh just being yourself. And I remember a year ago, I started looking and being like, okay, this is one thing cool about Toronto, that I came from Calgary. We didn't have that in Calgary. In Calgary, a lot of people work on your material, which was good for me starting out. But now I came to Toronto, and now it's like, now I need to develop this part of my arsenal. And so I remember a year ago, I made a promise to myself, like, I want to work on crowd work. I want to be a really good crowd worker, and I want to do what like a lot of comedians in Toronto do. It'll just make me so much better of a comic. And I remember I made that promise to myself, and I saying I want to do this, but honestly, I always half-assed it. Because it's a very scary thing. Like, don't get me wrong, when you go up on stage and you just go off the top of your head, there's so much you need to trust in yourself. Like, I'm funny, I'll be able to do this. Like, you can completely turn a crowd on. It's like, if people are just like, I don't like this, like, all of a sudden you have like a whole crowd of people hating you. Like, so it is like a very scary thing to work on crowd work, because a part of it is like you're going to fail, and like you're going to piss off some people in the process. And so I'm not going to lie, I didn't really ever work on crowd work that well. I didn't put that much effort into it, and I always half-assed it. I worked on it a bit, but I always half-assed it. And it showed me that this fear that I had of actually working on something that I really needed to work on, that fear ended up getting pushed into my subconscious, because I didn't want to even face that fear. I started to push it into my subconscious, completely out of my conscious attention. And once I pushed that into my subconscious, it started manifesting itself as pain inside my body. And this is where this chest and shoulder pain started to get worse. And it was showing me, like, when you put these fears into your subconscious, when you push it into your back, like, it creates tension in certain parts of your body, and different tension for different fears and different pain or whatever it is. But it creates these tension, and as the tension gets deeper and deeper, you start developing these kind of pains and stuff. So it was releasing all this pain when it was rotating my body and pressing my spine, and like just taking all this tension out of my chest, my shoulders, my back. And just once it was taking this pain out, it was showing me that this is where it was coming from, my fear of not actually trying and doing crowd work. And I couldn't believe it. I woke up in the morning, my back felt absolutely amazing. My shoulders were just completely like amazing. And now I'm back in Toronto, a week into Toronto after my retreat. I've been going to clubs, and I've been doing crowd work. I've been talking to people, and I love it. Like, I've actually like just I'm so much more confident right now. It just feels amazing. And like yeah, I feel like I'm glowing. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I talk to people, and like I have no fear anymore. And like, even just the other day, I just started talking with somebody, and I just, like, when I usually would like talk to somebody, I would just usually say a couple things, maybe get a laugh, and then just dive back into my material. This time I'm just like, no, I just kept talking with them. And just because I did that, like, we just got deeper, and I got into, like, we just talked about deeper stuff, and like we ended up getting like a lot of deeper jokes from it. And it's been great, and my back's been feeling amazing. My shoulder, I just feel so renewed. So like, this was ceremony number 4, probably the best ayahuasca ceremony I've ever had, in the sense of just like how that whole idea of us pushing our pain or our fears our fears into our background of our subconscious, and just try not to like face them, and then that actually like builds up pain and tension in your body. That blew my fucking mind. I couldn't believe it. I really couldn't believe that. But yeah, that was ceremony number 4. That was an amazing one. And let me also toss this on ceremony number 4 too, because this was the other thing when it was taking away my fears. So like this whole ceremony was pretty much about fear. So it took away this fear of like crowd work from me, in the sense of like, this is what you need to do. But the other thing that I have had a fear of in the last year it comes when it comes to meditation. Now, I've been meditating for years and years now. It's probably one of the best spiritual practices I've ever had. And this last year, I've been sinking into deeper and deeper meditations. It's been absolutely beautiful. Yeah, I've got into some points which has been like great. When you get into a really deep meditation, though, there's a time where you're completely, how do I say this? You're completely like disassociating yourself with or disidentifying yourself with your mind and your body and everything. And it like, because you'll notice like when you keep meditating and observing your present moment and your experience, you'll notice that you're always kind of identified with a certain part of your mind, your body, or whatever it is. But when you realize that yourself is completely an illusion, it's a very like profound experience. But there is a point in meditation, and I've been experiencing this in the last few months, where you're about to like completely release your whole sense of self and completely release from that whole idea of who you are. But it's scary because like once you release, like there's a part of your ego that's kind of like shooting out like, hey, like if you let go of this, like you may never come back. Like it feels like you're just going to be completely lost. You might just go into another whatever, I don't know what, but there's a fear there that if you lose your ego, or if you lose your ego or your sense of self, it's never going to return. So I've been meditating, and like I'll come to this into this experience when I'm meditating, and I'm about to like kind of like actually just completely let go. But I'll just like, my ego just starts kicking in, and this fear just starts coming up like really, really strong, and it just kicks me out of that whole meditative space. And it's just my ego being like, nope, we're not ready to completely let go. Like if you let go, we're done, and you might never come back. And then that fear has been really strong, and it's kind of been messing with my meditation, because if I do get into a deep meditation and I get to that place again, like it's I just end up like chickening out, and it sucks. So this is in ayahuasca now. I'm in my 4th ceremony. This is near the end. All of a sudden, I dealt with this fear and like my back, and all of a sudden, like everything's starting to feel really good near the end of the ceremony. And all of a sudden, I start getting into this meditative spot. Like it just puts me into it, and I'm just like, oh shit. And I have zero fear about letting go. Like, and I'm feeling it. I'm like, oh, I'm ready to let go. And I did. And I let go. And I completely let go of any kind of attachment to my mind, attachment to my body, anything. It was just completely free, just completely unattached, unclinging. So your mind's just completely free. It's just nothingness. And I just let go into this nothingness that's just amazing. Like the funny thing about this nothingness is just feels like it's like this universal energy that everything exists and springs from this nothingness. Like I know meditation teachers would say like it is a nothingness, but it's like a nothingness that's the most beautiful nothingness ever. And I like completely unclinged from that, and I was just in this beautiful state of mind, and I just was able to stay there and be like that, and also understand like, hey, I can also come back after I'm done this kind of meditation, and then come back, and my ego will be there, my mind, everything, my body, everything will be there, and I don't have to be scared. But I can come out and completely let go and get into this kind of universal nothingness where everything springs from. Like this is where you kind of put your mind to completely refresh and to completely be in the present moment and see things clearly. So I honestly, like, it was such another beautiful thing that this ceremony gave me. So this was easily the best ceremony of the whole 6 ceremonies. Just in like, it just took away so much fear. It completely fixed my back and shoulders. I just like, it was such an amazing, beautiful experience. So that was number 4, guys. All right, ceremony number 5. Oh my God. All right. So I'm not going to lie. After that 4th ceremony, I was feeling absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. So I came out of the ceremony. I was glowing. I was like, all right, we're done 4. we got 2 more left, and I got a little cocky. I'm not gonna lie. I was just like, all right, we got 2 more left. I can do 2 more ayahuasca trips, no fucking problem. I got cocky. I'm not gonna lie. So I came into this 5th ceremony just like, all right, 2 more left, no big deal. I can do that with my eyes closed. And part of the reason I got cocky also was like I didn't really have any kind of physical purging. Aside from the shaking and vibrating and stuff, which is a form of purging, I didn't puke, I didn't go have like diarrhea or anything. I was just like, oh man, like in my head, I was like, oh, my body's so clean, I'm fine, I don't need any of this shit. And so I kind of was a little cocky in that sense too. And this night kicked my ass, all right? So I took the medicine, and within like a half hour to 45 minutes it hits me, and within an hour I'm like into the medicine and I'm not feeling very well, and I'm just like, oh yeah. And like within an hour, probably around the hour mark, I had to go to the bathroom, and now I'm like, holy shit. Like I go to the bathroom, and I do my business in the bathroom, and yeah, I'll tell you, I've never had diarrhea while I'm on ayahuasca. A lot of times you'll do ayahuasca, and the next day you might have a little bit of it, just because this is how the medicine cleans out your body. They'll find like actual impurities and toxins and shit like inside your, like all over your intestine, everything. I don't know where. Like it just fucking finds this stuff, and like sometimes you'll have diarrhea the next day, which was just getting rid of it, and it's nothing, like you don't really care or anything. It's just like you actually are like, nice, got that out of my body. You feel good. I always had a fear though, like what if I get this when I'm high, like when I'm in the middle of the trip, and I did. So this was an hour in, and like this is right when it starts peaking on me, and I go to the bathroom and I do my thing, and honestly, I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't bad. Like I always thought like, oh, this fear is gonna be so horrible. It wasn't bad at all. Like I did it. It's not fun. Like it's not fun going to the bathroom when you're like high on ayahuasca, because like if you close your eyes, you fucking start like drifting off into who knows where. Or you open your eyes, like the whole fucking world is vibrating, like really, really high intensity vibrating. So like it was just like it wasn't fun. But like I go to the bathroom, did my thing, I come back into the ceremony place, and I lay down. I'm like, all right, let's get through this trip, because like now I'm just like really nauseous too, and all of a sudden I'm nauseous, and like I'm just like, oh shit, I gotta puke now, and like I go and I puke, and I gotta start puking and stuff into this bucket, and I'm just like, Jesus. And I put that down, and all of a sudden a fever hits me, and now I'm just like aching my body, and I'm sweating, and I'm like, all of a sudden I go from sweating to like shivering, and then I like, oh, I have to go to the bathroom again. So like, oh my God, this was the worst ayahuasca trip I've ever had. This was like, when it comes to my total ayahuasca trips, this was number 12. This was my 12th ceremony I've ever done in my life, and it was easily the worst. I honestly, I kept going to the bathroom. I kept getting fevers. I kept getting chills. The one thing it was showing me, the medicine, was just like to submit. It was like it was teaching me about like, hey, like the last ceremony I showed you about your like meditation. I showed you how to get to that point of nothingness and just being there, and like you like to get there, you have to just to submit, and like submit to the process. Like, I'm cleaning you out right now, submit to the process. And that's all I was doing. So I would just keep coming back to my silent point, like my meditative point, and then like I would jump out of it because like I get a fever, I'm just pain, or like I puke, or like I have to go to the bathroom. But then like every time I just like submit back to that place. So this was what the whole trip was. It was just showing me it's cleaning up my body. Like we dealt with so many of my fears and like emotional trauma and stuff that I had over the last 4 ceremonies. And it was just like, now like the medicine had so much junk and shit inside my body. Like, all right, it's ready to freaking get rid of it all. And that night it did. And even the next day, so like I had diarrhea for the next 24 hours, where I just like kept going to the bathroom. Probably in that 24 hours I went like probably 8 or 9, maybe more times. But I could tell like it was cleaning out my body, so it wasn't like anything like, oh, what the fuck, I'm doing it. Like actually like felt good. And like, yeah, like when you're doing these ceremonies, like you fast after 1 p.m. So like even inside your body there's not a lot of food or anything, so you're just kind of like, where the hell is all this shit coming from? But it finds stuff, like it really does find stuff in your body, and it cleans you out. And that's why like yeah, I had this diarrhea and shit for the next 24 hours. It wasn't fun, and that whole fifth ceremony sucked hard. But I'm happy for it, and like I said, it cleaned me out so well that like after it was done, and after like the sickness and everything kind of went away, I was just like, oh, I feel amazing now. And I completely understand what the medicine was doing. So that was ceremony number 5. All right, and then next day we did the 6th ceremony. This was their last one, and I'm not gonna lie. So I went into the 5th ceremony kind of cocky. I went into the 6th ceremony nervous as hell. Like, god damn it! I hope it's not gonna give me another one of those trips that I had the night before. But honestly, the 6th ceremony just felt like it was wrapping up the whole 6 ceremonies that I had. And it was so gentle, like it was so nice to me. Like the medicine was just filling me up with so much love, and it just felt like a wrap up of like the whole week or week and a half of ceremonies that I was doing, and it was just showing me filling me up with that love and confidence that I needed to like take with me as like the whole ceremony was done. I honestly, I felt amazing. And it was very, very gentle. And like, yeah, my whole body just felt great. I had that whole Texas Kid Y thing came up again, and it was just like showing me like, because my body felt great, my shoulders and back. So like I was just like, my muscles just felt so big, and my chest felt so big, and I just felt so sturdy, and just like as a man who just stands there firmly, and like I'm just like, okay, I'm ready to take on the world. And like it was just like, yeah, it was just showing me that. And it was like showing me like, hey, tell you because you're a lucky person, you're so lucky, you should be proud of yourself. And it was just like time to go and like take the world by its heels. And like I just like, hey, like I came in with this intention of like confidence and believing in myself and fixing my back pain. And it was just like this whole ceremony was just kind of showing me like pretty much a wrap up of like all the other 5 ceremonies before it. And it was just showing me like, hey, you got everything you need. And I came out feeling so confident and having this conviction that like I'm doing like what I'm going to do. I'm ready to share. I'm ready to be this person I am. I'm ready to take this masculine energy. I'm ready to go practice crowd work. I'm ready to conquer my fears. And I'm going to live my life now with a lot more of these lessons that I've learned from ayahuasca. All right. And so it wasn't a lot to say about the last ceremony just because of this. But let me, just to end this whole podcast, like, let me just tell you, if you do ayahuasca, and I really do think, like, if you're listening to this, I think you should think about trying it sometime. It doesn't matter what your intention is. Like, sometimes if you're just curious to see what it is, like do it. Like this thing will help heal anybody, and even if your healing is on a different level than if you have trauma or PTSD or something, like I never had any of that stuff. My healing was like fears and stuff. Our culture puts so much fears in us, and like we have so much fear that we don't become like the best of who we are. And one thing ayahuasca does, it heals us to become the best of who we are. It heals us about our relationships. It shows us all the people in our lives and how we should be and act around them, and how we should open up to them. And yeah, it shows us how to be present in our life, pay attention to what we're doing, and just live a much better life. So I hope to inspire people to try this. And what happens is, like, people will sometimes say, like, is ayahuasca a magic, is it like some sort of magic trick that like you take it and everything's good with you? And like, no, it isn't that. All right. I know, like, I know, especially in a Western culture, we want these kind of quick fixes. Like, that's how our consumerist mind works. Like, I'm going to put my money down to do something and you're going to give me the exact results. Like with ayahuasca, I know a lot of people think about it that way. When I first went down to Peru to the Amazon jungle to do it, that's what I was thinking of. Like, I'm going to take this and it's going to fix me and I'm going to be great. It doesn't work like that, really. It kind of does. Like, hey, it will fix you. It'll put a ton of like confidence and love and like give you all the changes and shit you need to make. But the one thing is, like, you got to go back to your life and make some of those changes. And you got to have, because like, you know, we can go back to our life and end up falling back into a lot of the same habits, and we will always do that in a little sense. But that's the reason why it's so important to have some sort of spiritual practice, I think, so we can like actually have some of these changes actually stick with us. That's why I say, like, if you try it out, ayahuasca, do some breathing exercises or something before, like meditate on your breath. Just because, like, not only will it help you during the ceremony when, if it gets a little haywire, you can just always bring your attention back to your breath, but afterwards, you can have some sort of meditation practice afterwards now where you're just mindful of your breath, and you can do that every day. That, like, now all these lessons that you learned in ayahuasca, in your actual trips when you were doing ayahuasca, you can actually now take them out into the regular life and actually use them. Because, like I said, ayahuasca gave me so much these 6 ceremonies. I feel so transformed and amazing. Now I need to like actually take these lessons and do them in life. I had so many things I learned, and now I have to actually take them and do them in life. And I've already started doing them, and I know I will do them. I have that conviction now. So ayahuasca will give you the big boost to start your change and transformation. But it will never change you. You have to change yourself. All right, guys. Peace and love. Thanks so much. This is God, Yay or Nay. Check me out, newerkidwhy.com. All my dates and shit like that will be on there. Also all my videos. So I'm like, hey, if you can subscribe and like me on YouTube, newerkidwhy. Get me on Instagram, newerkidwhy. I appreciate that. This is where I'm going to be releasing all my shit. Subscribe to my podcast. If you can leave a rating, that shit helps actually reach more people. And if you know anybody who likes or talks about ayahuasca, please share this video with them, or podcast with them. And yeah, let's spread the word. You guys rock. Thanks for the support. Peace.